Hello everyone, I'm bringing you a video today which is sort of an introduction to a little project I have on the go, and that is to create a recreation, a replica of an East German MPi-KM. And what I would like to do here is have a version where I can use it with both fixed stock and a mix of furniture for different periods, and obviously there are slightly different designations. We won't get into that here. What we're going to have a look at in this video are some bits and pieces which I already have, which will feed into this project, some bits of East German furniture. Have a quick look at those, talk about what I need to get, what I'm going to get, and obviously how that will work going forward and what I'm going to do in terms of creating this replica, based of course on an airsoft, gas blowback airsoft gun. So we'll have a look at these bits and pieces now and talk about this in a little bit more detail. So here I have the various bits and pieces which I've managed to accumulate so far towards this project. These mainly came from a friend, David Brennan, who sold me the folding stock, the folding butt, the plastic buttstock we have here, the pistol grip. I believe this front lower handguard ring, the gas tube, excuse me, with the top handguard, the upper handguard there. The other bits I've accumulated from other sources. Also the lever for the operation of the rear. The folding butt also came from David as well. I picked up the muzzle nut here, and also I think maybe the pistol grip as well actually came from, along with the night sights here, which we'll talk about in a moment. I believe they all came from Cold War Militaria, I think it is, Cold War Collectibles in the UK, Cold War Collectibles I think it is, who stock a huge collection of Eastern Bloc spare parts, various bits and pieces for firearms. Obviously nothing actually relating to the operation of the firearm in terms of load-bearing parts and so forth, but lots of furniture and other bits and pieces. So obviously what I have here is not bad in terms of putting together an MPi-KM, indeed different versions of the MPi-KM. So what I need is lower handguards. So I would like both. I believe I've actually managed to source in the US through a friend, again, Ian Parker, a lower handguard, both the wood and the later, I think it's glass reinforced plastic lower handguard. I think it is GRP, fiberglass. The two versions of the lower handguard there. The other components which go to make up the folding stock. So this is currently folded actually in the folded up position. So it would be sat like that. Obviously this fits inside the rear receiver of the rifle, and then it folds out like that. This pin needs driving back in. Sorry, I might be doing that out of shot there. This needs the rubber stop here, which is a bump stop for where it folds into the side of the receiver. It stops it marking the receiver, so it actually sticks out on this side. The corresponding pin, I believe those are all on the way from the US, again thanks to assistance from Ian. Need the spring, the bracket, and the plunger. So there's a plunger that fits in here, which is operated by this lever, fits down in there. There's then a bracket that this fits inside, a pin and a spring that fits inside the rear, the back of the receiver. And I believe there won't be any problem in fitting that. This needs a little bit of cleaning up. As you can see, there is some rust, but I believe I've managed to source all those parts in the US, and they will be coming over, and I'll be able to actually assemble this. The nice thing with this is it is an original East German example. These actually fetch quite a bit of money now. They're quite sought after. So having this as a basis has meant that I can find the components which are still relatively easy to find to finish this and make it work. The actual butt itself that we have here, the stock, is the hardest bit to find, an original East German example. So I'm very happy to have that. Just fold that back again like that. It lies a bit easier. And obviously these are not hard to find. The actual operation lever, the lever that operates and you push down to swing it in and out. But I already have one of those, so that was not something I needed to find. The rest of the furniture is simple swap with the furniture you'll find on a gas blowback AKM from GHK. What I'm looking for is actually a second-hand GHK. I certainly don't want to be paying the prices for the V3. A V2 will do me just fine. I believe we will be able to fit the front lower handguard retainer, which we have here. This is nice in that it is the East German example with the large sting loop. So that's one distinctive feature that not everyone bothers swapping out, but I have one of these, so that's quite nice to have. That will give a little bit of extra authenticity. And we have here a muzzle nut, a thread protector. This is, I believe, a Soviet example, but will do the job, and this can be fitted in place at the slant brake for earlier period MPi-KMs. So that's a nice thing to have as well. Of course, there are different versions of the MPi-KM, but the furniture often got mixed up between them. So you'll see a mix of different bits and pieces, folding stocks with earlier features and vice versa, wooden handguards with wooden lower handguards with folding stocks and with fixed stocks, and the GRP with both as well. So that's something to notice. There was a real mishmash of components and furniture and so forth. And then another piece we have here is the night sights, which are quite commonly issued with the MPi-KM. So we have the front sight there and the rear sight here, which I can clips over the existing rear sight and then opens up to reveal the glow-in-the-dark component here. As you can see, I have had these in bright sunlight and then looked at them in a darkened room, and they do still work, which is quite nice. So happy to have those. And as I say, the parts I need I'm otherwise able to source, so they will be arriving from the US hopefully in the not too distant future, and I'll maybe be able to make a follow-up video providing I can find the an example of the GHK AKM. I'll be able to show you a video talking about that and with the various components fitted to it, and talk you through that. I believe it's Austin Vest, I think it is, a channel on YouTube, made a video talking about their use of the GHK, and I'll put a card, I'll put a pinned, put a card in the corner of the video is what I mean to say, up here, linking through to that video. It's worth going and having a look, and obviously they talk through the advantages of a gas blowback rifle as opposed to trying to modify furniture to fit an electric airsoft gun, or indeed trying to, as they did, trying to 3D print furniture to dress up an airsoft gun, as electric airsoft gun, excuse me, as an MPi-KM. One other thing I should mention is also have a rear sight, an original rear sight on the way. I think the one thing that will, well, there are two details of the GHK AKM. Obviously it's modelled on a late Soviet example of the AKM. I think there are two major things that will be a problem. That is the markings on the receiver for the selector will of course be Russian Cyrillic, rather than the correct D and E that you see on MPi-KMs, and also the spot welding marks are not correct. So you'd normally have on an MPi-KM you have 3 above the strengthening dimple which sits above the magwell, and you'd have more on the rear receiver than you actually have on the GHK AKM. Minor details, but something I may look at rectifying and trying to improve going forward. But nevertheless, I think the end of all this will end up with a pretty good airsoft replica of an MPi-KM, and it'll certainly be very useful for displays and reenacting going forward. Just a little introduction to it here, talking through the components I already have and what I need, and obviously there'll be a part 2 to this at some point in the future when everything's brought together, and we'll have a look at it as a completed replica of an MPi-KM. So I hope you found this interesting. Obviously just a quick run through of what I'm planning here, and obviously a follow-up video will follow once I have all the bits and pieces I need, including the GHK AKM. So hopefully that will be of interest too. If you'd like to see that upload and other future uploads, please do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And whether you're newly subscribing or you've previously subscribed, please do make sure you hit the little bell, the notification button down below. That will of course alert you when I upload future videos. That's everything for this video. So until next time, bye for now.